Welcome to episode 4 of the Motorcycle Archives podcast. You can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, but today I'd like to announce how you can support these episodes more directly by purchasing a Motorcycle Archives t-shirt. If you're interested, send me a message on Instagram at Moto Archives. All the money that I make is directly going back into this project to finance more episodes with more amazing people. Speaking of amazing people, this episode is about Yama from San Francisco's 947 Works, formerly known as Mazi Moto. We talk about the origin of Mazi Moto, the name change to 947 Works, Sportsters, the best bike in my opinion, the future motorcycle builds, as well as spirituality of riding motorcycles and the importance of community. Yama is an amazing person, and I'm glad we were able to connect and share the story with you. Welcome to the Motorcycle Archives. Yama, take one. Just had to get that sync.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. And what's this guy's name?
Mazi.
Mazi.
He's Lil Mazi.
He's Lil Mazi. He's a big guy. Well, first off, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah,
I appreciate you wanting to do this video about me.
Of course, dude.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's always nice to connect with people on, through like motorcycles and stuff. I feel like just like after posting the first couple of videos, like the community is so like supportive and awesome. And I just want to be able to share more stories, and to see you in here in San Francisco doing the thing is.
I feel like everybody's awesome. So like hidden in their own little shop spaces and like hermited up that it's cool to see people like finally going out and making stories about it, because everybody has their own story and everybody does this for their own reasons, and it's nice to see people highlighting it. So
thanks, cool, man. Appreciate it. Hell yeah. I think it's cool. It helps. It helps too to build like relationships with people, because I feel like that's kind of all what it's really doing for me, just connecting with more people that love the same thing that I love. And but I would love to hear like your story about like, just beginning of motorcycles. Like, how'd you get into it? Like, look at, this is amazing what you've been able to create, but I'm just curious, like what was the starting thing for you?
I was actually telling the story last night, which is pretty funny, but I've been into cars for a really long time, like drift cars and stuff, for my whole life. And I grew up with my dad having an auto shop, and he never really like taught me how to work on cars. I just kind of learned on my own. And it was one of those things that I just grew up around it so much that I wanted to be a part of that. And so growing up, like one of my biggest dreams was to have a shop of my own, whether that was cars or now motorcycles. And so I moved out here when I was 18 and was still into the car thing. And just like over time realized that like I spent like 10 grand on one of my cars in the course of a few years, and just put all my money into it. And at the end of it, it was a pile of trash, so like to like throw all your money and time and effort into something and it not be what you want it to be, just kind of like was pretty, like it just kind of sucked, So at that point I sold my cars and started working at a store called Iron and Resin. Do you know that company?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They had a store here in San Francisco, and I started working there. And at that time I was like super hyped on like cafe racers and like vintage BMW motorcycles, because I was into BMW cars at the time. Hey,
this guy loves me, man. He can't help it.
He's gonna be like this the whole time.
Come on, just get up here already.
See, he's like, no, you have to play with me. I was into like vintage BMW cars, and so that kind of translated to vintage BMW motorcycles, and I wanted one so bad. And I started working at Iron and Resin, and that kind of got me into the chopper scene in San Francisco, the motorcycle scene in San Francisco, I should say. And they would do like events, and it would be the whole community would come together and like do burnouts out front. And it was just like such a crazy way to be introduced to it all. And the manager who worked there, Garrett, he had a shovel head chopper, and that was like my first time seeing a Harley chopper, And so in that time I worked there, and I was working at a summer camp one year, like near Yosemite, and The guy that worked...
Sorry, to stop you real quick. What was the summer camp? Was it Nature Bridge by any chance?
No, it was Sugar Pine.
Oh, okay. No, sorry to derail.
It's okay.
I didn't derail your story.
No, it's okay. So the guy that was working there had a little CT90, and he was ripping it around the summer camp the whole time I was there. And I just kept saying, like, that thing is so cool, man. And at the very end, my last day there, he said, I have another one. It's a project. Do you want it? And I was like, what? Yeah, totally. So he just gives me this like pieces of parts of the CT90, and I threw it in the back of my sedan and drove back home. And around that same time, I was working on some guy's car, and he had a Yamaha, what was it, XJ900 or something. And he was like, if you work on the car, I'll pay you, but I'll also give you this bike. And so I kind of got 2 bikes for free.
Damn.
And it's a weird story of how I met my friend Joey, who's like now one of my best friends. But I was working at Iron Resin, and he came in one day on his CL350 Project Paperweight, and I was like, this thing is so cool, you know. And we got to talking, and I was like, how did you get your bike here? You know, you came from Michigan, how'd you get your bike here? He's like, with my truck. And I was like, dude, I'm getting a bike today, I need a truck, is there any way you can help me? And you know, Joey being the nice guy that he is, he was like, of course I can help you. So that started our friendship. Him like going out of his way, picking up my second, you know, like bike with me. And that's just what like started it all. And at that point I was like, I can have more bikes in a car space than I can a car, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't really do much with those 2 bikes because they were just kind of trash. And I found a CX500 just like over here in the Bayview. And it was $300, so I went and bought it, and it was running.
Yeah, quote unquote running.
Yeah, so I went and bought it and like brought it back home, was so stoked, and got all my roommates into motorcycles at the time. And that's just what sparked the motorcycle thing. I was like, these are a lot easier to work on. It's a lot less parts than cars, and it's a lot cheaper, especially Hondas. Getting into Hondas, like at first, they were just so cheap to get into. So that's what really sparked it. And working at Iron Resin, the Hondas weren't really doing it for me because I tried to do like a couple trips with the SF community, and all these guys were into Harleys.
Yeah.
And so that was like my intro to Harleys, was like the shovel head chopper, this like beautiful bike, blue, freshly painted, you know, kickstart. And I was like, that's it right there. Like when you come from like drifting and how like scrappy drifting can be, it really resonated with like choppers, because it was just like throw it together. You know, not that guy's bike, but like
yeah.
You know, once I started learning about like hardtail bikes and rigid bikes, it was like just throw it together, get these parts, they're vintage parts, you make them work basically.
But it's like that DIY kind of mentality.
Totally.
Like, I'm gonna figure out how to make this myself, I'm gonna lean on these people kind of to help me.
Totally. And I've always been the type of person that like, I don't really like paying people to do things if I can just learn how to do it myself. So that's how I've been with cars. That's how I learned how like engines worked with cars. It was like, you know, I studied about it for so long, not in school necessarily, but like just YouTube University. And
you got your bachelor's?
Yeah, exactly. And it got to the point where one day I just like took my BMW and I drove to San Jose, and I bought this BMW engine just to like tear it apart and learn how it physically worked. I'm like a very like I'm like a visual learner, and so I had to like physically see and touch the pieces and see what was what.
Yeah.
And so like that transferred into motorcycles, right? So the Hondas and stuff like didn't work out eventually, and I was super stoked on them. But the guy that I was working with, he was like, you need to go get a Harley Sportster. And I was like, I see a bunch of Ironheads for sale. And he was like, don't get an Ironhead. Same story, right?
Yeah.
Just like, don't get an Ironhead. They're piles of trash. Like,
how dare they?
I know, right? And so at the time I was like, okay, I won't get an Ironhead. And so I started looking for Evo Sportsters, and I got my tax return at the time. And my roommate at the time also got his tax return. And so I found 2 Harley Sportsters. One was an 86 1100 4-speed. The other was a 96 1200 5-speed. And the 86 was running, the 96 was not. So the 96 was $2,200 not running. The 86 was $2,000 running at the time. Shoot. And so I just went and bought them both. Like he gave me his tax return, I had my tax return. I went and bought both.
So it was from the same guy that was selling them?
No, so
two different
two
people.
different guys. One guy was in Patterson, the other was in Redwood City. And I just was like, screw it, I'm gonna go get both of these bikes. Brought them back home. There's a photo of like me staring at these two bikes in our driveway, you know? And just like, we're just trying to choose whose is going to be whose. You know?
You haven't figured that part out yet?
We haven't figured it out, yeah.
Who wants the one that's not running, basically?
Huh?
Who wants the one that's not running?
Exactly. And the one that wasn't running was like beautiful paint, like, you know, super nice, original, like whatever, Harley Sportster. And the other one was more like ratty, but it was running. And so I chose the one that had the nice paint and like looked better. And I was like, I'll get it running, no problem, you know? And so that's how the Harley thing started, man. It was like just happened to happen. And we just got stoked on bikes at the time. And it was like, Harleys are the ones to go to.
Yeah.
And also thinking about like logistically and mechanically, like having two carbs behind the engine on Hondas, right? Compared to a single carb on the side of the engine. Like what is
what's more simple? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go with that for sure.
So
but also I feel like there's like just the experience part of riding a Harley versus other bikes is, I don't know, there's something special about that too. You know, just like the rumble of it.
Anywhere.
You could take them anywhere. Yeah, they could serve so many, especially the Sportster. I feel like it's such a like instrument like to be customized in any way. I mean, all of them really, but
yeah,
that one seems like
it was the perfect intro bike.
Right, exactly.
You know, like, to actually like not just throw a skateboard, like cut a skateboard in half, put it as your seat on like the cafe racers, which is cool. This was like, there's stuff online about it. There's people that make parts that look really cool. I think around that time, Rob Williamson was having a lot of photo shows at Iron and Resin, and he was like photographing a lot of the SF community and also just the Bay Area community. And so seeing all of his photographs of like these crazy cool choppers, and I was like, I want to get there one day. And around the same time, Todd Bluebaugh came out with his book about his shovelhead and like doing trips on his shovelhead. And that was like such a big influence on me, just seeing, you know, like you can take this and like go camping and just like get away from the city, get away from the rat race and just go do this thing, you know? So those two like were huge influences on like how to do this. And, like it be like not approachable, but like it never was approachable, right? Because like you need you need money. You need money and you need like knowledge to be able to do this thing. So yeah, that's kind of how like what got me into it was like working at Iron and Resin, being just exposed to this community, you know, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be the young guy that was like starting to do this stuff. You know? Well,
I feel like you kind of achieved that too, you know, like I look at your YouTube channel, like you touch so many people through that, you know, and then just being a part of the world, like your friends that I see on there, like, I don't know, it just seems like very genuine, like relationships, like if you guys doing fun stuff, like those adventures, like you said. Like the Yosemite video, like dude, Yosemite's like one of my favorite places in the world, and like, to experience that on a bike, it's so amazing, dude.
And like, you know, around that time, like I think there was like a few trips that we had. There was one trip, it was my first trip that I went on that first Sportster. Before the trip, my bike was down, and it was the only time that I've ever paid somebody to do work on my bike.
Which bike was it? Was it
the Sportster, the 1200 Sportster. And man, it took 8 months.
Oh damn!
To like get my bike back from the person that I took it to. And like now that I have a shop, I get it. But like at the time, I was like, "This is insane. Why is it taking so long?" You know, and
you're like, "Drop everything right now."
And so like he ended up doing a top end, doing the clutch, doing like a starter, doing everything on this bike. I got it back, not really knowing what I was doing. Went on the first trip. It was called Hooligan Hoedown. Iron and Resin used to do like whatever party events near Yosemite. So we go out on this trip, and within the first, I got to Altamont Pass and my clutch stopped working. and it's my first trip on this bike, you know, like I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And at the time I just like made it look cool. Put new bars, put a sissy bar and like rigid struts or whatever, and rode it every day when I got it back. And we went on this trip. Clutch stops working, put it on its kickstand, take the primary cover off, or like the derby cover, and it spills out all of its fluid.
Damn, dude.
All the primary fluid.
And this is right after when you got it back, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like...
And so like me not knowing what I'm doing, I adjust the clutch wrong, over tighten the clutch, and I'm like, cool, let's just ride to Modesto. There's an O'Reilly's. I'll put new primary fluid in. So we ride to Modesto. Everybody's waiting on me at this point. There's like 12 people on this ride. Everybody's waiting for me. So we get there, I put new fluid in, make it the rest of the way to Yosemite, whatever, Bass Lake, to Hooligan Hoedown. We're partying, having a good time, whatever. The next morning we wake up and my bike won't start.
Oh shit, there you go.
And I fried the clutch. The clutch welded itself together and I couldn't get it started. We tried to bump start it, nothing was working. So I just left my bike there, rode 2 up on my buddy Dan's bike back into town, into Oakhurst. And then it was like, how do I get my bike back to the city, you know? And thankfully one of my roommates at the time like did the whole thing where like he got a truck, he came out, the truck died on the way, he had to get that towed back home and then drove back out. Long story short, I was in Oakhurst for like 12 hours just waiting for somebody to come pick me up and like go get my bike. We get my bike back, whatever, we take it back to the same mechanic, and it was in there for another 6 months.
Oh shoot, dude.
And so at that point I was
what are you
like,
doing? You're just not riding bikes for that stretch of time?
Yeah, I was like, you know, I used the bike to commute to work. And so in that stretch of time, I was like taking the bus, and the city had like those electric scooters at the time.
Oh, okay.
I think they were called Scoots.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
So I was taking Scoots every day.
Yeah.
Just to like get some miles
the rush,
down on a bike, you know? And so I'm just taking Scoots everywhere. And I think I ended up putting like 1,500 miles on Scoots.
That's nuts.
In like the year or so that I was riding them around. So I get my bike back and I'm just daily riding it, just like rain or shine. I daily it to work and back.
And you're still working at Iron and Resin?
I was working at Iron and Resin and a coffee shop at the time.
Nice.
And because of how long it took, I was like, I have to work on my own stuff. Like I've never taken my cars anywhere to get worked on. I've always done it myself. This is the first time I've taken my stuff somewhere and it's taken this long. I need to just do this myself. I need to be proficient at this. And so I started to just like get into the habit of learning how to do all this stuff, you know, watching all the videos. Just
at your home, like wherever you're staying?
Yeah, just at home in the garage or in the driveway, you know. And there's like photos and videos of like taking the rear tire off and like using the spoons while stepping on the wheel trying to get the tire off or whatever. The fun stuff, popping tubes left and right. So yeah, that's kind of what like sparked the I need to do this on my own idea. And yeah, it just started with that first Sportster and the Hondas, you know, like if it wasn't for those Hondas and like the intro bikes, the cheap $300 bikes that I just found in the city or wherever, like I wouldn't have gone this far in learning how to like do stuff on my own, you know.
I think that's super valuable. I feel like when you don't have a ton of money just to buy like the newest bike or whatever it is, you're forced to get like cheap, sometimes like non-running bikes, you know.
Oh, 100%.
But it teaches you so much about, you know, what you can learn to like save money or this or that. But I also feel like it brings you closer to the bike, which is
totally
something that I feel like is important. Like there's like almost like a spiritual aspect to having a connection with it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like just to reference that first ride that we did, like if I did the work on myself on the bike myself, and I knew how it all worked, it wouldn't have broken down.
Right.
I wouldn't have fried the clutch. I would have done it right. And I would have been stoked, you know? But it was a huge mistake that I made, and I learned from that mistake. And from then on, like I just filmed the whole video about, I forget what it was, like the shovel head or something, or no, it was the pan head. And I kind of say like my spiel of like, you're gonna make mistakes, and like, you're not going to learn from those mistakes unless you try and you make those mistakes and you learn from them. You know, like there is no like better way to learn than to like just try it on your own. And if you really are at your wit's end and you can't figure it out, or like it's a bottom end that just blows up or whatever, something that you don't have the tools for, like I've just been the type of person that I invest in the tools and my own learning to like figure it out on my own.
You're paying for your own education.
Exactly.
You don't have to go to college to do that.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
College is
with your time. Yeah. Low-key, yeah. I mean, it is.
No, I mean, there was something
expensive.
like one of my biggest like influences in this whole thing is Max Schaff. And there is, I think in 6 Over or something, I was watching it like so much back when I was first getting into this. And there's something that he said that like has still till this day rang true to me. And it's like, I think at the time, like all his friends were going to the bar and stuff, and he decided to go to college and like learn how to paint at the time and learn how to weld or whatever. And the way that he said it was like, it's not about the grades. It's about what you get from it, your experience from it, and like what you learn. And so like when I heard that, it kind of shifted my whole mindset of school. And before I was going for like this or that for my parents. And eventually I decided to just like go for like engineering, right? But it was like learning how to use a lathe, learning how to like draw and manufacture parts basically. And then also I took like a welding class, and it was like learning how to weld. So like at that time I just bought my own Craftsman flux core welder and was just using it at the house, you know, on random stuff and
just practicing,
you know. And there's this one video that my friend filmed like 2016 or whatever of us like building a sissy bar. And it's like,
why do you do that?
Because like it wasn't done well, you know. So it was just like we just ended up using like 2 propane torches, a socket on the vise to like bend the sissy bar around, and it was just like done really terribly, but like that's how you learn, man. Like, you know, you start from just nothing,
for sure,
and just household tools. Anybody can do everything. Like when I was working on cars, my very first tool set was just a Cobalt Lowe's tool set, and I did everything with that thing. And if I needed a specialty tool, I would go buy it. Yeah,
like in the moment, you're like, if I need this now. But yeah, I think that's really cool, because otherwise you're just going to rely on people forever, you know?
Yeah.
Or you could be the guy that is able to help your friends out, or
totally
just get your own stuff done, dude.
Yeah. And at that point, like the iron resin community, that they closed the store in San Francisco, and I kind of like stepped away from it, whatever, and just moved on with my work. You know, I started working in coffee when I first moved here, and I just loved it. And that's what I decided to do from then on, was like, I'm working part-time iron and resin, I'm working part-time in coffee. I had like 2 or 3 jobs at the time, you know. Like I was like, I'll just do the coffee thing, and like the motorcycles will be for fun. And I was super into photography and videography, whatever, you know, like just doing as much as I could creatively to fill the void. Well,
it kind of strikes me that you struck me as a person that enjoys doing a lot of things, like kind of just learning a bunch of different skills, you know?
I have so many hobbies, man.
I'm the same way. But I think, I don't know, I really enjoy that, you know? Like just speaking for myself, like I don't have to be the best thing with anything really, but I do enjoy knowing how to do a lot of little things, you know?
Yeah.
Or just enough, you know?
What is it? The jack of all trades is a master of none.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Yeah. Better than a master of one.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly.
So,
well, I mean, there is something to be said about people that like can master the one thing.
Of course.
And like they're the guy for
we need those people too.
This, and they're the guy for that, you know? And that's amazing, man. Like for you to have the patience and like the skill set to like just put all your energy into one thing, that's so cool. I've never been able to do that. You know, like I've always had a few cars. I've always had a handful of bikes. And it's insanity. And like my friends make fun of me about it because, you know, like I think I wrote up this blog post when I was 26 where I had at that point 26 vehicles.
Oh, damn.
And I was
That's
like
impressive.
writing this blog post, right? It's taken forever to write this blog post because it's 26. I wanted to tell the story of each vehicle. And by the time I like got to the 26th vehicle, I had another 10 vehicles that I had to add on to the list. So like, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is insane, man. Like, just cycle through the stuff and like also to be able to experience it all, right? So like I got through one of the years, I think it was like 2018, 2019. I knew what cars I wanted in my lifetime, and I just wanted to like experience each one to see what I liked. Because it's always that mindset of like, but I have this, but what if?
Yeah.
What about that one? You know?
And there'll always be another one that you think, what if? Like,
exactly.
that desire, like to have another one, or
Yeah.
But that's important that you got to experience it to know whether or not if it's legit. You know? Like,
Well, and that's what I think a lot of people like. Whatever your dreams are, whatever, it's always going to be in the back of your mind if you don't try, right? So like with this whole shop thing, like it kind of just happened. It wasn't like I was working part-time, or I was working full-time doing coffee and was doing the bike stuff, and we got kicked out of the house shop.
Because of you guys are wrenching on bikes?
Yeah, and we were just making too much noise and like welding in there, and the neighbors started complaining about like fires and shit.
Ridiculous.
I know, man. No, it makes sense. If I was a homeowner, I'd do the same thing. But you know, it got to the point where we were like, we can't work at the house anymore. We need a garage to do this at. And so we rented, me and my roommate at the time, we rented just somebody's garage, like some random person's under their house garage. There was one light, and I had this metal table, and
Where?
the
guy?
other one.
The other one.
Yeah, and I had like my welder. I had bought like a brand new welder at the time because I started doing like welding projects for people at the time, and I started the clothing company at the time, was called Mazi Moto, and I did it just for clothing because I was like super inspired by YouTubers that I watched who were doing everything themselves, you know, like basically the idea behind the YouTube, to like sidetrack this, was like I was watching a few YouTubers that were skating for a living. They were filming themselves skating on YouTube, and they had random clothing companies, not necessarily like for their own brand, but it was like one guy made baby onesies.
Oh, damn. So it's
sold
not even
them.
related to them at all.
Not related to them at all. He sold them on Etsy, right? And that funded his life. So like he did that for a few hours in the morning, where he just like made a few designs, printed whatever, made the baby onesies, shipped them out. And then the rest of the day he would skate all day long and film it, you know? And I saw that, like, if this guy can do this, then why can't I? You know, like that's how my whole mindset has always been. Like, if he can do it, why can't I? And so that's what started the YouTube channel, was like, I'm already doing this stuff on bikes and like cars or whatever. Might as well just film the experience, you know? And like we kind of talked about it before, but it was like the whole skateboarding thing of like, I made skate videos when I was a kid. We were terrible. I was terrible at skating. I've always been bad at skating, you know, but like I did it for such a long time and filmed so many videos of me and my friends skating or doing whatever. And it was just like a cool thing to be able to like watch skate videos all day of like professionals doing this, and then make our own versions of it, you know? So that's how the YouTube channel started, was like, this is our version of skate videos, was like with bikes, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So you said Mazi Moto was like the first name. Yeah. But it was for the clothing part.
Yeah.
And then, because your YouTube channel was called that as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the beginning, and then you changed it recently.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of the change? Like,
it was just like, I noticed that I wanted to be able to like do more than just motorcycles, which I haven't yet, but
but that's like the future goal.
The future goal, and like be able to like incorporate drift cars or skating, punk rock, whatever it is, you know, like music. Anything that we do, like I want to be able to incorporate it all, but also I had like a, how do you say, I'm blanking. I do this a lot. I blank. That's I have ADHD.
Dude. Yeah, we're internet kids.
I know, right? I had like creative block when it came to Mazi Moto, where I made all the designs or whatever. I had a few friends make designs for me, and it felt very polished. And I wanted it to be like more punk rock. You know, I wanted it, and like that sounds super cringe or whatever. I don't care. But like the way, like people were pretty upset when I changed the name because like they were like, oh, it just rolls off the tongue better. But like Mazi Moto is like very motorcycle oriented.
Right.
And I had seen just like all my inspirations in the motorcycle community and cars and everything that I like was not so like sucked into this one thing. It was very broad. And so 947, a lot of people ask me what that comes from. And it started out just as a joke, right? And me and my friends, like we were talking a long time ago and we were just like, I used to listen to 94.7 Kiss FM, you know? And, and the other guy was like, me too. I used to listen to 94.7. The other guy, yeah, me too. And so like every time we would look at the clock, it would be 9:47. So like it was just this constant joke, right?
It was a sign.
It was a sign. And like the more and more I saw it, the more I was like, this seems like an angel number almost, you know? And I looked at my old drawings. I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. And in all of my drawings, I had either 47 or 947 in every drawing. Just randomly?
Just randomly. You didn't even realize that until
I didn't realize it.
That's so weird, dude.
And so like Blue and I were just hanging out one day and like I started drawing up a 947 Works like logo and was so stoked on it. And this was in the Mazi Moto times. So like I had like a huge creative block trying to design Mazi Moto stuff. And it just seemed very polished to me and like not my favorite, you know, it wasn't, I just wasn't stoked on it. And I started drawing 947 stuff and like he started drawing and like we just kind of got to the point where it was like, this might be it. Like we might be onto something here, you know? And the more we like made these, what are these called?
Like those like kind of thermal type shirts?
These little guys?
Oh.
Stencil.
Oh, stencil.
So we started making.
I was like, what?
We started making just like 947 stencils and like spraying it on everything, and it was like very much like old 60s like punk rock style of like just spraying whatever you want on whatever, you know. And that just kind of like sparked it, and I was like, this is more so like what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was like an angel number for me, you know, where I saw it everywhere. I don't know if I should share this, but like I then looked at my social security number.
Oh shoot, dude. And that's all you need to say, really, I think.
It's in my social security number, which is crazy. Like after joking about it for years, this number was in my social security number.
What are some of the other numbers in there? Okay.
Oh, you almost got me. No, it was just
that's
like
crazy.
It was just like this happen thing where like the world was telling me to do this thing, you know. And at the very end of it, when I did end up switching the name, I looked up what the meaning of it was, you know. And the meaning was like leaving behind your old self and like what you thought and moving forward to this new thing.
The meaning behind those numbers?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Wow.
And it was like,
that's pretty cool.
This is crazy.
That fits right in too.
Yeah. And so I don't know, it just kind of like made sense to do. And yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what is the next thing in terms of the bikes that we have here?
So I think when I started this whole thing, like, I had an idea in my head of like what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, whatever. And I was like young doing that, you know? And I still am. Like within the motorcycle community, I'm still a young guy.
Yeah,
like,
how old are you, by the way?
29.
Okay, cool. 28.
Nice. Okay.
Same thing.
Like I'm still a young guy, you know, like there's guys that have been doing this for 40 years, for 60 years, however long they've been doing this. And, hey,
it's not about you, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's not about you.
He's a beast though.
Yeah, he is. And like, you know, I'm still a young dude in this and I'm still learning and I don't know everything. And like, I want people to know that like, I don't know everything, and I don't try and like push that I know everything. So with the YouTube channel, I don't try and do how-tos because everybody has their own ways of doing stuff, and I've learned my own ways of doing stuff, you know. So I think when I first started, the idea was like Evo Sportsters are the bread and butter. We're going to be building Evo Sportsters, you know, like, and it got to the point where I was just drowning in Evo Sportsters. Customer stuff, which like, you know, still bring your Evo Sportsters over here. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like over time learned that like you gotta walk before you sprint, you know?
Yeah.
And
little by little.
Yeah, little by little. And so over the last couple of years, just like working on my mental health or whatever, I've been trying to slow down, trying to just like really think through what I want, where I want to go. I definitely want to be in a shop. I love this stuff, you know, like as unfeasible as it is doing this in San Francisco, and as difficult as it has been, it's also been such a blessing to be able to do this. And like I get to do this, you know, and it's not like I haven't been handed I've never been handed stuff in my life. I've had to work really hard for everything that I have. So I think the next step for me is just like finish up these customer bikes that I have going, and just start building my own stuff to sell, you know, like that's where I really want to go in this next year, I should say. Like, I don't know about 10 years, 5 years from now. Eventually I'd love to start building parts or whatever and selling parts, but that's like such a huge market that it's a lot to deal with, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's good. Like you're saying like, sometimes you just got to focus on what's coming up this next year. Yeah. You know, and you don't have to have the 10-year yet. Totally. It's like, you're still making progress somewhere. Yeah. But you kind of touched on like the fact that you're in the city and how it's kind of, you know, difficult. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like the challenge of getting a shop here and kind of maintaining it as well? Like, yeah, I mean, like this shop that I'm in right now, I think I looked for a shop space for 3 years or like 2 or 3 years before finding this one. And even when we got into this one, at first I was with a partner at the time. I was only renting this little center section that you see here, from like that 947 wall to this 947 wall. And so it was just this section, and we both, between the two of us, had like 30 bikes in this little section. Wow. And he since has like moved on, and we eventually took over more of the shop and more of the shop and more of the shop. And even when I first moved in here, I was like, there's no easy way to get bikes in here. As you can see, it's a loading dock, you know? So like we have to roll bikes around every time. So as soon as I got into this shop, I started looking again for other shops that I can potentially rent. Great thing about San Francisco is they don't want any more mechanics. They don't want like automotive work in warehouse spaces anymore. So even the warehouse spaces that were perfect that I looked at, I would schedule a time to go check it out, and you know, but before I could go check it out, they would have already rented it to a tech company. Dude, what a shame. I know. So that's like the purpose of it. They want to make it available for, I don't know, something like that. Tech and weed. Those two are the big ballers out here. And like, it makes sense, man. Like, they're not going to create too much of a mess, and they're going to have money. Right. Yeah, a lot of money for sure. A lot of money, you know. Each of them. So like, I think this whole thing is definitely dying. And hey, can you stop, dude? Come on, man, speak English. I really wish he could talk. He's cute, dude. But this whole thing is dying in San Francisco, man. And like, I feel like privileged to be able to do it still in here. And you know, every month is a struggle for sure. This winter has been even harder, and little projects, or you know, like finishing the XS, I was like grateful enough to have customers that will either like pay me little by little while I'm doing their projects, or I have like a hoard of parts that I don't want to sell, but if I have to, like I can, and it provides me rent, you know. Right. But also like my close friends who constantly build bikes, Blue, he's paid a lot of my rent just from like buying parts from me when I really needed to like sell stuff, or
I honestly don't understand how I'm still here.
I was thinking the same thing, but I think it's fucking amazing. I mean, like, it must tie into like the whole thing with the name thing. Like, it's just kind of fate. You know, it's like kind of, this has to happen right now.
Totally, yeah. And that's kind of how I've always lived my life, is like, I'm a believer in, like, I'm a very spiritual person. So like, whether it's God or the world or like whatever, the flow, there's a flow of the world, right? Mm-hmm. And I try and be in that flow as best as I can. And like, when you're in the flow state or whatever, this is going to sound crazy probably to a lot of people, but like, when you're in the flow state, like, the world gives you signs. The world like kind of puts you in these positions, opens doors or whatever it is, or puts people in your life at the perfect time, or takes them out of your life at the perfect time, that like at the time, as like just a human, you don't really understand, but it's like very divine, you know? And so my entire time being in San Francisco has been a struggle. I've been here 11 years and I moved here when I was 18, and like, it's been a huge struggle, man. Yeah. Like, I've been broke this entire time, but like somehow every month I'm able to pay rent. I don't know how. Yeah. Somehow every month I'm able to pay rent. And I've been able to like continue on, you know, and relying on yourself to make rent and not be at like a 40 hours a week job is difficult. Like, it's very hard. There's a lot of things, like, I don't do anything. I work and that's it, man. Like, I don't really go out. I don't really like to drink either. So like that saves me a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, yeah, that's super expensive.
Yeah, it is. And like, you know, unless there's a trip that is planned, like some trips that we've gone on, man, like my friends have hooked it up and they're like, I'll pay for your hotel. Like, you know, they'll pump my gas for me. And like, it makes me feel bad, but like, I try and do things in return for them. Yeah. Outside of monetary value.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. It's like what you're describing. It sounds to me like community. Like, you have a strong community, and what that means is that there's just a group of people that support you and you support them, and when you need it. And
man, like when I started Mazi Moto and stuff, like the first ride that we did, it was mainly just because like there was like the big dogs in the chopper scene, right? Doing like knuckleheads and panheads and all the cool stuff, you know? And then it was just like the Sportster dudes that like didn't really fit into that. And so, you know, when we did our first ride, it was like all the Sportster people from the Bay Area just like came together. And now those people are like some of my closest friends. And it was from that first ride that we did that I'm still like, I was searching for a community, and I was able to like make that community happen through the business, you know? And like, that's been a huge part of having a space to be able to open it up to people. You know, like sometimes it sucks because it is my job. So like, you don't get paid all the time, but like being able to like help your homies out and help people that are like stoked on this stuff out, and be able to help, like, use my tools. I don't freaking care, man. Like, come in here, work on your bike. I don't care. That's been like a huge part of this, and like it really makes me feel good, you know? And
dude, for sure.
I don't know if it's self-seeking or whatever, but like just being able to create a space to have your homies or whoever that are less fortunate, that don't have tools or whatever it is, be able to continue on working on their stuff, or
provide a space for them to come. Totally.
So that's been a huge influence, or like inspiration. Having the space is like, and trying to keep it going. It's just like having that community aspect of it, and going on rides with like your homies, man. Like, you know, building a bike is cool. And don't get me wrong, that's like one of my favorite parts. And over the last couple of years, that's been the only part that I've been able to do sometimes, because I'm so like in my head, I want to buy that and that project and start them all at the same time, and like be financially fucked for a long time. But it's also sick to be able to ride your bikes.
Like, that's also why we do it.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, for sure.
And you don't really realize it until you're on the road and you're like going down the highway on this piece of shit that you just built. And somehow you make like that Yosemite trip, man, like, and the Cayucos trip, putting this bike together, ripping down there and coming back, and like barely making it back on the Yosemite trip, and just being like, holy shit, I made it, you know?
Yeah, I survived.
Yeah. Like,
that's literally what it is. In this like modern day and age, it's like the closest thing we can get to like a proper adventure, you know? Where it's like super rewarding. Like I go backpacking and stuff sometimes, and I kind of think of it the same way. It's like sometimes you're super uncomfortable, like the weather's terrible, like you have to worry about this bike and all these things, and when you get home it's super rewarding, you know?
Oh, extremely. Like there's been days where, you know, like we're starting a ride or ending a ride, whatever the occasion, but you're on the bike and it's humming, you know, like there is a sweet spot, especially on the Ironhead, where it just hums and you can feel the vibration of the engine under you, the wind in your face, you know, like the weather's perfect, or maybe not, or it's hot or cold, whatever. But in that moment, you're there, right? And you're nowhere else. There's nothing else on your mind. You're thinking about your bike, you're thinking about yourself, and it's like therapeutic in its own way. And there have been times where at the end of a ride, like on that Yosemite trip, it was pouring rain. I was the only one making it back because everybody else had to go. So I'm riding the last 60 miles by myself, just like praying that this bike will make it, you know? And at the same time, screaming at the top of my lungs that it's still going down the road, you know, just like no face shield, no nothing, just water spraying in my face, trucks passing me by going 60 miles per hour. And I'm just going, freaking out, like, this thing's making it, dude, holy shit, you know, like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And there's no better feeling.
Dude, it's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it sucks that some people can't experience that, or maybe won't, you know, because it's so special, you know?
Yeah. And like, you know, I get comments on the YouTube and stuff where it's like, why are you guys putting yourselves in this situation of struggle, right? Like, you have to deal with more breakdowns than whatever. Like, why don't you just get a BMW GS and ride 300 miles on a gas tank and be comfortable? And there is something special about that, don't get me wrong. And if that's what you're into, that's amazing, man. Like, if you want to get to your place that you're going, like, that's awesome. But sometimes it's not about the destination, it's about the journey getting there, you know? And it's about like the gas stops every 60 miles where everybody's laying on the ground and dumping water on each other and just like freaking out that like this bike that we just built 2 weeks ago is going 1,500 miles like with somehow no problems or with like every problem in the sun, you know? And
I saw the Born Free video. You guys are like, it's fucking hot here. And I'm like, dude, that's normal for us over there. Like, that's just, dude. It's so funny.
That trip was really special because like the year before I had built that shovel head and was trying to take it on the Born Free trip. And I don't know what it was, but it was like the first time I registered a bike.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The bike was running beautifully the day before. Put it all together as a brand new build, whatever. Register the bike, put the sticker on the plate, put the plate on, and kicked it 200 times.
Oh, man.
And it would not start. So, like, that was 2-3 years ago now. The next year, we put Blue's bike together, and we had every problem under the sun. We did a motor rebuild, or like a top end refresh, the week before the trip. And then he rides it up and down the block. The transmission blows up. So we had another spare trans. We just threw that in and like did as much as we could. We touched every single part of that bike outside of like the crank. We didn't split the cases. That was the only thing we didn't do, right? We did everything else. And we went on that trip. It was my first time going on a long trip like that on my shovel head. Next to Blue on his shovel head that we just built. He had no problems.
You're just chilling.
How? And my shovel head, like, a few of the problems were my fault. I welded with the gas with the battery still plugged in. Because my fender broke or whatever. But like,
wait, how did you? Oh, you welded with the actual.
No, it was just some gas station on the 395. We stopped there and I was like, do you guys have a welder I can use?
Okay. I was going to say, I was like, there's no way you took a welder with you.
No. But like even that, you know, like in that trip we crashed in Yosemite. I thought I broke my foot.
Shit, dude.
I ended up riding the rest of the way or whatever. And like it just so happened that my battery blew up. Matt had another battery. Alan had the nuts and bolts for it.
Damn, dude.
And
everything worked out.
Everything worked out. And we got back home. And like at the end of that video, like Blue does this scream that's just like, it'll send chills through your body, you know? But he's just like, wow, you know, like he freaks out.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, we get across the bridge. We go from like the hottest of hot to just like freezing cold Bay Area temperatures. We make it back home. He does that screen. And we're just like, how the fuck do we make it back home?
Yeah.
With like no problems on your bike. We just threw this thing together, dude. Like, what in the hell, you know? It was beautiful, man. Like, what? You know, it was just
You can't
insane.
make that up, dude.
You can't make it up. You know, and like those trips, like we're going to talk about those trips for the rest of our lives.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like when we went back through Yosemite, I stopped at the spot that Blue and I crashed in.
Oh,
and
shit.
like in that video, I'm like, this is where we crashed. But I'm always going to remember that spot.
Yeah.
I'm always going to stop there. And I'm always going to look at the scratch mark on the ground from our bikes laying down or whatever.
Yeah. You guys literally left the mark there.
We left the mark there.
Dude, that's awesome. You touched on something earlier that I wanted to just kind of like conjure up again is the spirituality aspect to it. And I feel like that's a big thing with like motorcycling in general.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and like if you wanted to share a little bit about that, what that means to you, like the spiritual aspect of if it's riding or whatever it is really.
You know, like we only have so much time on this earth.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, it was like, this might not be like very spiritual or whatever, but like when I grew up, it was like, you want to make the moves now to like set yourself up for the future, right? And my whole mindset of that has always been like, who knows how long I'm going to be on this earth?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to make the most out of my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, and like I'm about to be 30 and I'm about to get into this like next decade of my life. But like I look back on my 20s and if I did it the way that I was told to do it, I probably would have been pretty bummed, man. Like it was a struggle, don't get me wrong, like, but money is just a thing. Money is just like, it's great to have, don't get me wrong. It's fucking awesome to have. And it opens a lot of doors for people. And I wish I had more of it, you know, but like, I'll get there eventually. But like, to be able to like make it through life with whatever you're given and do it in a way that's like, where you're appreciating the world as a whole and you're not just trying to use and abuse it and like throw it away at the end of the day. That's very special, you know, like there is this divine that is all around us everywhere all the time, you know, and like whether you're in the concrete jungle downtown San Francisco, there's beauty to it, right? Whether you're at a random park, Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, it's like, it blows your mind because you're like, how is there this nature right here in the middle of this concrete jungle, right? You go 10 miles across the bridge, there's
freaking Marin County,
the most
dude.
beautiful of beauty, you know?
Yeah.
And then you ride to somewhere like Yosemite and you ride into the valley and you see this like, what the fuck is this? How is this here, right? The world is just like a special place. And to be able to like experience it, like being out into it, like on a bike, you're sitting on your engine, right? Like, there's nothing covering you. You're in it. You're like, the bugs hit your face, you know? Like, it's the most uncomfortable thing, but it's the most beautiful thing to be able to like experience the world.
It connects you to the world.
Connects you to the world. And
you're
like,
not just like observing it through a fucking metal box.
Right.
You know,
and it goes back to backpacking, right? Like, you know, that's like being able to like walk trails and whatever, go up and down these mountains and like be so connected to the world, like survival mode or whatever way you camp, overlanding or whatever it is, you know, you get to experience places that you've never been able to experience, or like some people don't have the ability to, right? And like when I went climbing a foot like 7 years ago or something, Mount Star King in Yosemite. Like
bouldering or actual climbing, like
actual
with harnesses
climbing.
and stuff?
Yeah,
Nice.
And like the hike in was like 14 miles.
Damn.
And it was difficult, right?
Yeah,
like 50 pound
that's not
pack.
a joke.
Yeah. 50 pound pack, you're going up and down these valleys and whatever. And at the end of it, you know, like you climb up to the top of this peak and you get to see all of the valley from like a place that not many people have seen, right? Mm-hmm. And all I really think of is like, one, this is fucking crazy. You know, like all of this was made and we get to just experience it. We're on this earth for however long, and we get to just go through and experience the world and its beauty. And like, not just that, but like people, you know, and like the people that we're with, we're all divine in our own ways. And like, we all add to each other's lives in our own ways in whatever capacity we want to. Mm-hmm. But there's beauty in that as well. There's beauty in camaraderie. There's beauty in like community. There's beauty in fighting with whoever. Like, there is, you know, and like you learn something from every experience, right? And it's based on like your own mindset and how you choose to take away from it and how you choose to interact with it. And yeah, I don't know. There's just like this divine that there's different ways to connect with.
Yeah.
And I think this is just one way to connect it out of like many.
Yeah, of course.
Many ways, you know.
For saying earlier, you kind of spoke about like, you know, some people speak like almost in poetic ways and stuff like that too. But I feel like you have some of that as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, dude. Like just hearing you talk about that right there, it's like your outlook on the world just seems very like open to like those kinds of experiences and open to like that spiritual part of it or the natural part of it, you know? Yeah. And I think that's really cool. I think it's something that like we could all kind of take in and like adopt that kind of mind, like perspective kind of, you know? Yeah.
I mean, like how many experiences are you really going to have if you're like closed off to people or the world? Like when I'm walking around wherever, I try and have as many like random conversations as I can. When I worked in coffee, it was like the normal is like, hey, how's it going?
Right.
And like most people will just say like, yeah, good. How about you? And the like normal thing to say is just like, yeah, I'm good.
Right.
You know? But like I always try to like make people uncomfortable in a way of like kind of expressing what my actual true emotions were in the moment in time. And by doing that, it opens them up a little bit, right? So like if you're a little vulnerable, then they're a little vulnerable with you. And you get to like make someone's day or learn something about somebody that like in other ways would have just been a double-sided like
it's not just like a transaction or something. Like it's like,
and it's like everybody's in your life for a reason, man.
Fucking cool, dude.
I practice.
That was so natural.
But like, you know, every interaction is different, and like it's up to you on how you want to make it special or not, you know? Like you could just be a dick to everyone and be like, no, fuck you, I'm not gonna give you like time of day. Or be like, yeah, man, what's up? Tell me about yourself, you know? Like, and you might end up in like a 30-minute conversation with a rando that you would have never known before. And then you run into them in the city again or wherever. And you're like, man, we shared a special moment. What's up? I know you a little bit different now, you know? So I don't know. It's like based on how you choose to interact with people and the world around you.
I feel like you in turn kind of are blessed because of that, you know?
Oh,
like,
extremely.
Like you ever see that movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
It's like, I last year I had an experience where I was like, you know, I'm gonna start saying yes to things, going to things that people invite me to, like whatever, just to like, why not, you know?
Why not?
And I was kind of finding that I was being rewarded for it, like just by like having good times with people, like building relationships, or like one time I just randomly ended up at some random like house event where they were like, it was like for some company that was like making solar kind of parts and stuff like that, like big giant batteries that are portable and stuff for camping. And I ended up winning that thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? If I never said, yes, I'm gonna hang out with this guy, and then he invited me to this thing, like it led me down this path to where I actually received like this random thing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's all connected,
it's weird,
man.
It's all connected.
It is.
And now I get to hang out with this little guy. No, but it's just amazing, dude. I'm glad that like you have that perspective. It's really cool to hear. But
you know, I will say like it's not always like that, obviously.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's ups and downs, right?
There's ups and downs, and like in this last year of life, like, or in the last couple of years, like I've struggled really hard with my mental illness or whatever, depression or whatever you want to call it. And there is a lot of times where like I am not in the right mind or headspace or whatever it is to say yes to those experiences. And I've noticed a big change of doors not being opened, you know, and like it goes back to like the flow of life, right? So like when you ignore those things and try and overthink or whatever it is, like you aren't in the places where you're supposed to be at the time that you're supposed to be there. And like you don't really notice it until you internalize, sit down, think about, internalize, and like really dive into you know, like what is going on in your own head, you know, like we're our own worst enemies.
Definitely.
Like, man, it's been a struggle.
But
totally. At the end of the day, like I have my community, I have my friends that like show me love in the ways that I need to show love, and like they'll fucking call me out, man. Like a couple of my friends, like Blue and Alan, they showed up one day and they just sat here, and I was just super uncomfortable with how I was like, what's up? What do you guys want, man? And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, what are you guys doing here, you know? And they were like, are you good, dude? Like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, you know, like very surface level. Yeah, I'm fine. But like, they knew. They were like, no, you're not good, man. Like, you're not yourself right now. And like, it takes those people in your life to call you out when you need it most, to be able to like almost snap you out of it, you know, and be able to like kind of make you internalize like maybe I wasn't good, you know? Like,
well, that's love right there too.
Good. Yeah, it's
and
love.
Sometimes it's like very uncomfortable, you know.
It is,
but that's amazing.
And I think like a lot of people, especially in this community, don't like to talk about mental health or whatever, you know. And like, man, it's so easy in the world that we live in now, like to compare yourself to everybody. Internet is the best and worst thing that could ever happen.
Oh, for sure, dude. It's it's rough.
And like it goes back to like, you know, I'm working on these bikes or whatever. I'm building whatever bikes I want to build, but at the same time, it's like it's not enough sometimes, you know. Like you see this person and that person building Born Free bikes. They're building their own frames, and I'm just like, man, like I'm not there yet. And like you almost like don't appreciate what you have and where you're at because you're just like you're
looking at something else for like, I should be here.
Exactly. And
it's
then
it's
you
a hard thing
learn
not to do,
that those people are 10 years older than you, and they've been doing this for 20 years longer than you.
and then you like, also have to understand that, I mean, they have their own personal struggles as well, you know. Like it's not something that escapes you once you reach, you know, whatever that end goal is, or if there even is an end goal, you know?
It's just a highlight reel, man. Like
it's like Instagram.
It is. And like it's people just post and I'm guilty of it too, you know. And like I have been trying to be more real on the internet. And like, but also keep things to myself.
The sun's shining.
The sun. You know, and like it's hard to like live this life sometimes,
dude, for sure.
As much as we have and as blessed as we are, it's hard, man. Like
it's the human struggle, man.
The human struggle. Life's hard. But when you like take a step back and like really think about where you're at, the fact that I can eat every day, like basic needs, basic human needs, when you like take a step back from all the bullshit and think about your basic human needs, I can eat every day. I have clean water to drink every day. I can shower. I have a roof over my head. I can feed my dog. You know, like I'm fucking blessed, dude. Like life is good, man. Like what am I complaining about? I have all this shit. What's going on in there, dude? Like snap out of it. And it was weird because like this last year was really, really hard for me. Going into like New Year's is never a huge thing for me, right? But somehow this New Year's hit and I was able to like close the chapter on last year. And like obviously there's a lot of processing that still has to happen with everybody, you know, with anything that happens to you. You got to process your shit or else it just gets buried down in there and like becomes bigger and bigger problem if you don't deal with it, you know? And it's a lot about like internal learning about yourself, how you process what as a kid has traumatized you to the point of being this person that you are right now, what triggers you, and like figuring all that stuff out, man. Like it's important. It's really important to like dive into yourself and not be so distracted by what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, dude. Like some self-reflection.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's important. Can you like talk a little bit about that? You feel comfortable sharing anything that in particular that
was hard, or
I don't know if there's anything that like you're
like relationships ending, toxic people.
Sometimes like you need to step away from things that aren't serving you, because the relationship thing, I feel like it's like a two-way kind of street.
Totally.
In a friendship, in a romantic relationship, anything, it's like it kind of has to be a partnership regardless, you know?
Yeah. And like I think just being comfortable accepting the fact that like there are ebbs and flows of life, and like people will come into your life in whatever moment and they're gonna leave your life. And like just being okay with that, you know, being okay with the people that you thought were gonna be there, whether they screw you over or whatever the case, they're no longer in your life. And there's a reason for that, man. Like you have to just like, I had to personally just accept the fact that like what in every relationship or whatever situation, in your own head, you make an expectation. Whether you like to say that there is no expectation or not, you make an expectation in your head, right? So like, start of this relationship, this is where I see it going. And it goes down here and it ends. And so then it's like grieving the expectation. You're grieving the loss of the expectation. It should have been here. This should have happened, but it didn't. And so like just allowing yourself to like understand and realize and like accept that had to happen for whatever reason, and it sucked. And life is gonna suck sometimes.
No, definitely.
And you just have to like be okay with it and like move on and continue working on yourself, building whatever you want to do, you know, like whatever you want to invest in yourself, invest in your health, invest in your mental health especially, and like, you know, put things in place that will take up your time and energy. And like, you know, I had a problem where because all of that stuff was fogging my mind so much, I would be in here and I wouldn't be able to get anything done. You know, like there's so much to do. And because of how much there was to do, I wasn't able to do anything. You know, like the anxiety, the ADHD, the like overthinking
could be crippling sometimes.
It's super crippling. So like the small practices is just like start somewhere. Clean your table off. And like, or make your bed in the morning, you know, like if you feel that way, allow yourself to feel it. That's fine. But don't let it cripple yourself to the point where the month ends and you don't have anything to show for your month, you know? Which was happening to me, you know? And like, it sucked, man. And a lot of it was like being in my own self-pity and just like loathing and like sitting in it for too long and like not allowing myself the space or the time to heal and to like just allow it to pass. I just sat in it for too long, you know? And that's what like a lot of my friends were calling me out for, man. Like they were just like, dude, you were a hard person to be around in this time of your life. And like every time I came over here, you were pretty negative. And at that point I noticed like spinning around, chasing his tail.
This guy.
And you know, at that point in my life, I realized that like I had let go of a lot of negative people in my life. And I've always been a very positive person, and I noticed myself becoming negative because I had these negative people in my life.
You start to absorb kind of a little bit of their energy in there.
Totally.
You know, for sure.
And that's just never who I was, you know? So like just being able to recognize your own patterns and your own habits and breaking those fucking habits, man. Like it's hard, man. Like riding my stationary bike the first month or 2 months that I got it, I was like, this is a habit that I want to form.
Yeah.
And I would get on it one day and like ride 10 miles or whatever and be like, fuck yeah, I did it, you know?
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks would pass and I wouldn't touch it. And so like, I realized the other day that like, I've been hitting that thing every single morning for the last month or 2 months, you know? Like I have a list of every time I get off of it, I write down how many calories I burned, how long I was on it.
That's dope.
And like how many miles I rode, you know? And whether it's the easiest setting or whatever, it's just like getting your body moving making that habit form, you know? And like, it's fucking crazy at the end of the day to like think about the amount of miles that I've ridden in the last 3 months, you know?
Yeah, and you kind of attribute it to like what you've done with the shop. Like it started with that one Honda.
Yeah.
It rolls over time like a snowball, and then boom, you're building all this other cool stuff.
Dude, this mill in the corner right here, I just got that. That has been something that I've always wanted in my life, is this mill. And it just so happened to come about where somebody upstairs was like, we need to get rid of our mill. And I was like, I don't have the money for you, but would you work with me, you know? And they were like, totally, we'll work with you. And it was kind of a struggle getting it in here, but like, damn, dude, like I look at that and I'm like, whoa, I have the mill, you know, like that I've always wanted, and it's here. And like, it's not hooked up yet. I don't have any tooling yet, but it'll get there, you know, like, I don't know. All this stuff it's like one thing that Blue always says, and I think he got it from like Max or something, is like, they're just bikes, man. You know? And I have a problem where I get attached to everything.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like a sentimental thing. I feel like it's how I was raised, kind of.
It is.
It's tough.
And like I've in the last year have been able to let go of a few things and like allow myself to get past them and just have the 2 main bikes or whatever. And now I'm like in this unsure feeling of like, I should get rid of the iron head. Like I should, you know?
Wait, why do you feel that way? Hold on.
So I have like a bike that I've been wanting to build for a while. It's that UL motor that's up there on the wall.
Yeah, nice.
And I've had this bike built in my head for a long time. I have the parts for it. I've hoarded all these parts for it, but I need like a good chunk of change to like build the engine and like build the frame and do all this stuff. And so the way I've been thinking about it is like, you know, the customer bikes, they pay my rent. How else am I gonna build this bike? You know,
you have to fund it, is what you're saying.
I have to
something
fund
else.
it. I have to fund it. Yeah. And like, as much as I love that bike, as much as I don't want to let it go, it really pains me, you know, but like to take that next step and to build that next bike, that's just going to be like my bike that I'm going to be super stoked on, that like I've had in my head for 3 or 4 years now. That might just be what I have to do, you know? And it sucks.
I understand.
It super sucks because that bike's sick.
Yeah, man.
I love it, you know? And it's gone everywhere with me, you know? But you might just have to make that move and be uncomfortable it's in the uncomfortability that we grow, you know?
Yeah, that's true. They're just bikes.
They're just bikes, man.
Yeah. They're not necessary.
They're not necessary.
They are kind of, but
I mean, there's been a lot. I always say this to my friends, but there's been a lot of situations where I should have sold this panhead. Financially, I've been in like pretty hard situations where I'm like, this is a good chunk of change just sitting here, you know? And like, I should have sold this thing, but if I can keep it and like ride it and put the miles down that I want to put down on it, like I will do other things or whatever, you know, to like keep the one thing that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And it's fucking perfect the way I've taken years to build this thing, and I've had a huge mental block with this bike because up until the other day, I had maybe 20 miles on it total in the 3 years that I've had it. And it's just had problem after problem after problem after problem. And I've gone through everything. But I just took it on a 3-hour long ride through San Francisco.
Yeah, I saw that post. I was like, that's awesome.
Dude, it was the most mind-boggling ride I've ever done, because like before that, I rode around 30 minutes in the Bayview and was like, cool, it did really great, you know? And on the day that I chose to ride this thing, it was the only sunny day in the last couple months that we've had because of all this rain. And I was like, where am I going to take this thing? How far am I going to go? And I started up, took it out the gate, and just started going down 3rd Street. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If it breaks down, then I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, like if I need to call AAA or whatever, they probably wouldn't tow it because it doesn't have a license plate on it. But like, I was like, fuck it, dude. I'm just going to ride it. And dude, it went 3 hours without turning it off. No problem.
It's amazing, dude.
Just rode, right? And then I finished my camera roll on my film camera, and I dropped off the film. And the whole time I was like, am I going to shut it off out front the camera shop? Because it's had a hard starting issue.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's going to be really shitty for the camera, like the people that work there, if I just leave this bike running out front. So I shut it off. And I drop off my film, and I come back out, and I'm kicking the shit out of it. And it's not doing a thing, you know? Not coughing, nothing. 20 kicks later, still nothing. Smoke a cigarette, let it just chill for a second, put the cigarette out. Okay, let's try it again. Another 15 kicks, nothing.
Jeez.
And then finally it coughs once, and I was like, this is it. It's going to start now. And finally I got it running again, ripped through the whole city, and made it back here just like perfect timing. My friend was just here, like, so I can work on his bike or whatever. And then yesterday I went through, like, rebuilt the whole magneto, put the Pangea Speed, like, condenser in it, and it started up fucking first kick, man. Boom. Like, no problems.
So that was your hard start?
That was my hard start.
Just that
was magneto, yeah.
Damn.
I've been doing like the mag dance for a while, where like I had 2 good mags and 1 like questionable mag. I put one of the good mags on the flathead raffle bike. The other one was on the Ironhead because that was my runner for such a long time. And the one on the Panhead was like questionable. And so I finally, because that's down now, I was like, let me tear everything out of the internals of the Ironhead mag, throw it in the Panhead, and just see if it works, you know?
Yeah.
And it fucking worked, man. But all I could think was like, I just can't believe it started out front at the camera shop.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because I kicked it the other day like 40, 50 times, and it would not start.
And then you replaced, or you worked on the magneto after you got home, or after you got here, basically?
Yeah. And it started.
Now it's all good.
Yeah,
dude. It's amazing.
But yeah, man, like the mental blocks that happen with these bikes, like it's hard. Like, you know, you don't want to ruin something that you cherish so much. And also, like, sometimes it's not difficult to work on them. Like, sometimes it just takes that mental, like the mental barrier that's there, that's built up around it, to just get over. And then you do it, and it works, or it doesn't work, or whatever.
Right.
And then you can proceed. You know how to proceed on the next step, you know? This thing has just sat all last year.
Damn, that's crazy.
I think I rode it like 3 times all last year.
Are you going to Born Free this year? Or?
So that's why I'm trying to get this thing dialed, because I'd like to ride this to Born Free. I think we're doing a trip to Portland at some point this year. I'd like to ride this to Portland. This is kind of like under wraps, so I haven't really talked about it, but we're doing a big trip to Yellowstone.
Oh, what?
Next year.
I'm going to Idaho.
No way.
Tomorrow I fly.
Tomorrow? Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's sick.
But flying into Wyoming.
Oh, so nice. Okay.
Yellowstone's right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's cool
really
as fuck, dude. You guys are going to ride all the way out there?
Yeah.
Damn, fuck yeah. That's awesome. It's beautiful.
Because we've done the California loops like a couple times now. And I want to go somewhere outside of California.
Dude, hell yeah. Yeah, no, fuck yeah.
Yeah, film the whole process, do like a movie again. And
yeah, dude, you should. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Yellowstone is gorgeous, man.
Never been.
That's like, oh, dude. I mean, Yosemite, it's hard to beat Yosemite, but there's so many awesome places out there.
Man, the Sierras are just insane.
Oh, yeah. We're so blessed, bro.
We're so blessed.
Yeah.
It was funny on last year's Born Free trip. I came up to the gas station. The pump's at $10 a gallon.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, dude. When I was like curious if gas was gonna be expensive here, but it was pretty.
It's okay.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the best.
It's what I'm used to, I guess. But
yeah,
sorry,
what are you
saying?
Used to?
I don't know, like around like 4 something, 5.
Yeah.
So it's like same.
Not terrible.
No, and when you're on a bike, it's like I don't care.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2 gallons, you know, like at most. Yeah.
But when you're in the car, that shit hurts.
Sometimes. It hurts. $100 something, you're like, oh my God. Is this going to take me home? No, I'm going to have to fill up again.
Yeah. But sorry, you were saying?
I don't remember.
Oh shit.
Oh, we're doing a trip to Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Yeah.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, man.
But I'm trying to just dial this bike in. And in the meantime, you know, like get the Ironhead back up and running, do like a few trips on it, and then sell it. And I'm trying to figure out if I should sell it as is or if I should put it back to stock looking.
I see. Yeah.
Just to keep some of my like super rare parts that I've been hoarding forever.
Yeah, but you gotta keep the tins too. That shit's
Definitely
tight.
keeping the tins.
Yeah, there's no way you could sell that.
Yeah, I'm keeping those for sure.
But that front end's pretty sick. I don't know. I almost feel like you should keep that too.
The thing is, like, if I keep it as is without the tins and put other tins on it, I could sell it for more, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's either I sell it for more or I sell it for less and I have less money to work with, but then I have these parts that I don't have to buy again.
That's true. That's a good point.
I don't know. I have too many bikes that I'm building. I have like a 59 XLCH that I'm building that's been hot rodded up to 1,000 cc's.
Nice.
So.
Damn, you're not a Sportster boy anymore after this?
I am.
Which one? Which other Sporty do you have?
It's the Ironhead 59 XLCH.
Oh, that's yours. Oh, I thought you were building it for somebody else.
No, it's mine.
Oh, cool. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So then I'll have a 40s, the 43 flathead.
Yeah.
I'll have the 59 XLCH, the 64 panhead.
Dude, fuck yeah. You almost got all the boxes checked.
I know. All I need is a knucklehead. So if anybody has a knucklehead out there, let me know.
Seriously. How'd you get the UL? Like, where'd you find that motor?
Dude, it was crazy. Like the guy I used to work with, he just randomly came across some guy that was like, there's some guy in Redwood City that has Harley parts. And so he went out there and got this oil bag and like a few other parts. And he was like, dude, this guy has this UL motor just sitting there. So we went back and he was like, man, I had like 5 Springers that I just sold to this guy right before you guys got here or whatever. And we were like, oh shit. And so that motor was just sitting in this random room in like the back, whatever. So at first I was like, how much do you want for that motor? I don't know if I should say, but
oh shit, you should tell me.
Yeah, I'll tell you. No, whatever, I don't care. So at first he was, he was asking $1,500 for the motor.
Oh damn.
And it's no internals, no crank, no piston. Shit. The cam chest is like kind of whatever. Like there was bits and pieces of everything. And it's like Harley reproduction during the war. They had like extra reproduction cases, so it's not stamped. There is no VIN stamped on it, but it's matching cases. So at the time I was like, $1,500 is like a really good deal for this motor, but like I just don't have it. And so months passed by. He had a 3rd gen 4Runner for sale, and I was like, how much do you want for the 4Runner? And he was like, $4,500. And so I came back at him. I was like, I have $3,900. I want to buy the 4Runner and the motor.
Boom.
That motor. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I got the 4Runner
insane,
and
bro.
that motor for $3,900.
That's ridiculous.
So it's either...
You said 3rd gen 4Runner?
Yeah.
Is that the one with the head gasket issue or no?
No, that's the second gen.
Okay. Damn, dude, you fucking scored on that one.
I know, it's nuts. So it's either I got the motor for free or I paid $900 for the motor and $3,000 for the 4Runner.
Well, no matter how you slice it, it's still a good deal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that's been on the table for a while. Like I was planning on building it a certain way, but like I'm super inspired right now, and I have been over the last couple of years, as you can tell. Race bike.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. I love that style.
Yeah, in like the old Harley hill climb and race bikes, board track bikes or whatever. The way that I think about those bikes is like those were the original choppers, man. Like people took factory bikes from the junkyard that were blown up or whatever. They would make their own parts and throw them together as race bikes, right? And so like Matt walks through the Wheels Through Time Museum. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah,
like
amazing stuff.
Dude, the coolest bikes.
Yeah, dude, the best collection ever.
Insane.
Yeah.
And so like there's a few screenshots that I have of a few bikes that are on there that I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna like build. I was gonna originally put it in an XLCH frame, but now I think I'm gonna like build my own frame. I just got a frame jig. So
cool.
I think I'm gonna like just kind of.
That's awesome, bro. That's another challenge that you're gonna have to learn from. Yeah.
And see what transmission I can make work with it and all the stuff.
Dude, lovely.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But it's gonna be a lot of money because like I gotta get flywheels, rods, pistons, all the things. But after opening this bike up, man, like I always knew that it was fast. the XLCH. I always knew it was fast. Riding it next to, I used to have a 64 XLH. The XLH was a slug compared to this. My buddy Joey has a 70 XLCH, and he rode this thing the other day and was like, man, this thing is fast. I don't know what it is about this bike, but it's fast. And it's been able to keep up with Evo Sportsters.
I wonder why.
After looking at it,
okay,
it looks like, you know, pulling the top end apart. One, it was 30 over, which isn't that crazy. But also, the rods are polished. So I think they did some like hot rod stuff back in the day. Whoever built the motor hot rodded it out in some way.
That's tight. So where'd you get it from? Like, where'd you find the bike?
That bike came from Santa Rosa. It was just like
some random guy had it.
Yeah. And it came with like a 39 front end, or sorry, 35 front end. Just like random bits and pieces on it. Like not the coolest bike, but the frame and the motor and the oil bag were all original, you know. And it was all chromed out. Everything was super cool and chrome.
So I wonder if those are the guys that did the work on it, or if it was just a previous owner.
I think it was previous because he never got it running.
Oh shit! Wow.
So he was like, I've had this bike for however many years. I've never had it running, and I got it for a really good deal, $1,200, which is like,
dude, what?
For like nowadays, that's crazy. That was like 2019. I bought it. I just remember being so stoked. And it took a while to like get going because I had all these other projects and stuff. But once it was up and running, man, like that thing has been the most reliable bike that I've had. It's kind of nuts, you know. Outside of like an Evo Sportster that I bought once. Just like it was the first bike that I got that was running in my entire life. And I've made it look cool or whatever. But like that thing never gave me problems. But like this, outside of like a few issues that I fixed over time, like this has been just like get on and go anywhere bike up until it blew up on the Yosemite trip.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you have it. You're just running a Magneto, no battery, right? Like
no battery, no headlight, no tail light.
You're a beast, dude. You're just strapping like a flashlight to the front end, or what?
It was I bought like a bicycle light.
Nice.
Which was brighter than my friend's motorcycle headlights.
No way.
Which was crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I just strapped that on, and the panhead headlight doesn't work either, so I need to get a generator for it. But the other day the taillight started working randomly, so I think the generator works. I'm not sure. But I have a problem with having lights on my bikes. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it looks sick, like you said, like that,
sick, man.
Like those race bikes from back in the day. Like it just has such an aggressive, attractive kind of look to it.
Dude, this bike, like in this current stance that it's in, it like on the Cayucos trip, I was going like 90 on the highway, right? And like just cruising down the road. And on the 101, it's like pretty bad in certain areas. Every bump that I would hit, the bike would hop. Going 90 miles per hour, I would hop the bike. And it was the scariest thing because like you land it and you kind of shimmy for a second and neutral out. And like, I don't think like many people could ride that shit. Like, it's fucking sketchy, dude. Like, brakes don't really work. The brakes don't really work on this bike either.
Yeah. They're all mechanical and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like they're sketchy as fuck, but like I don't know, they're my bikes. So you just know how to ride your own bikes, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's how this thing is.
It's amazing.
But it's fast.
Yeah, dude.
It's fast as shit. And it's gonna be even better once it's all rebuilt. It's gonna be fresh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, keep me in mind, man, if you let me know when you're selling it.
I'll let you know.
I might be in the market.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. It'll probably be like around springtime, I'm hoping.
Okay.
Like end of spring, early summer.
It's the perfect time to get a bike too.
It's perfect time. And I can build it how you want it, man.
Good stuff. Hell yeah.
We can even come here and do a whole video series.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not too far, dude. I'm only like a couple hours away. Yeah. Really.
That's perfect.
So, yeah. I wish I had my bike here. I wish it wasn't like raining too. We could get some riding in, but
dude, it is what it is,
hoping,
you know? Yeah, I was really hoping we could go rip around. But I'm so ready for the summer.
Oh yeah, me too.
So ready for this rain to be done.
For sure.
And just be able to get some miles down on the Panhead especially, and you know, do some trips.
Yeah, dude. I guess lastly, before we like sign off here on the interview portion, I mean, you said a lot of great stuff. Is there anything that you like, I don't know, like like, what does this mean to you? What is like what does riding motorcycles mean to you? If you could kind of sum that all up.
It's a good question. I don't know, man. Like there's so much to it, right? Like,
hey, I got you, brother. I got you.
There's so much to it. Like there's the whole community aspect of it, right? Like it's cool going on a trip on your own. And like, I've been wanting to do this with the Panhead especially, is like just leave one night or one day or whatever, go camp by myself, you know, do that whole thing. There's like a spirituality aspect to that, right? Being able to be self-sufficient is what I'm trying to say. And then there's like the brotherhood, you know, like I don't want to be like cringe or whatever, but like, you know, brother, yeah. But there is a brotherhood to it all. And like just being able to find your community and help each other out, and whoever, like, I think our biggest thing right now with rides is like, you got to be self-sufficient, man. Like you got to know what you're doing. And we've had so many times where we're waiting on me or Blue or whoever to like figure their shit out. And sometimes it just doesn't work out and it's not meant to be, and that's okay. But like the self-sufficiency, the like connection that you have to your own machine, like we said, like being able to build something, take it somewhere, know exactly how to work on it, what if something is wrong with it, like knowing on the Yosemite trip, trying to put my rear wheel on, like I knew exactly how to put it on. It was a struggle. It took 3 of us to put the wheel on, but like, you know, like I knew how to do it, you know? Yeah. I don't know, like it just means like, to me, this is a hard question.
Yeah, I know it is a hard question.
This, yeah.
And it sometimes I feel like the answer of it changes
every day.
Yeah, every day, or like when you have a different thought. But I just think it's like a cool thing to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
I think the brotherhood part, as you know, brother, hey brother, yeah, no, but that shit is super important in like, especially in like modern society. Like we have to like create that environment, you know.
Totally.
It's not going to be given to us. Well,
the thing about this stuff is like, especially riding old bikes, like it's cool to have, if you're into fuel injected stuff, like that's great, you know, like whatever you're into, it's all you, man. Like if you're stoked, that's all that matters. And for me, like the mechanical aspect of this is like, I think I had mentioned, like this is dying, man. Like everything is so technologically advanced now that like there isn't much of this happening. And there isn't like, not many people know what to do. Like there's this constant thing that goes on about how back in the day, like there's shop manuals of how to fix your car. When you buy a new car back then, it came with the fucking book of every single piece and part of the car or the bike, whatever, how to fix it yourself. And like, that's something that we've just been robbed of over the years. Like there's so much computing, whatever that happens with cars now, that like, you literally cannot work on your own car if it's a 2022 or whatever.
Right.
Like you can't work on your own car, you know? And that is sad to me, you know? Like sure, it's job security for people that work in that field or whatever. But
like like you said, we're being robbed of this experience, this relationship with our machine, this like self-sufficiency.
Exactly.
You know, it's like,
yeah. And there's like something special to be said about the people that can fix something on the side of the road or whatever the case, you know, and not having to rely on anybody else. There's also like the historical aspect of motorcycles, right? Like there's so much of like a rich past and history about these bikes that like, I just feel blessed to be able to like have my own aspect of it and my own way of doing whatever to continue on the story, you know, like in my own way through my own life and experiences, and to be able to document it and use technology to put it out there in the world. One of the coolest things that happens with the YouTube channel is like all of the old heads, man, like that comment saying like, you young kids are keeping this alive. And that's like so cool. It's like the most reassuring thing to feel weird about posting your rides or whatever, and then people are stoked about it at the end of the day. And like you're gonna have haters with everything, you know, but like the people that are just like, man, like we were doing this back in the day just like you were doing this and you're keeping it alive. And I was just talking to somebody about how there's like the levels of generations with these bikes, and like paying your respect to the people that have done it before you, knowing your place, you know, knowing like where you stand within this community, not trying to overstep, not trying to like downplay or whatever other people's craft, right? Because like, man, like some people are just next level, and it takes dedication and patience and like a lot of time to be able to get to that level, right? So having the ability to even be somewhat a part of it in my own realm, or in San Francisco especially, like where there is a super rich history here, like, man, that's so special to me. And like seeing guys like Max and like even Jason Momoa, like, you know, a lot of people might not like him, but like he's been in this for a really long time, and like guys like that are funding. They're using their resources, hard-earned money to keep it alive. And like, you know, like this stuff is getting harder and harder to find, and it's all going to Japan or whatever, which is like, you know, people that are selling stuff there, like those guys are stoked on this stuff too, and like they should be able to do it, just like how we took a lot of their cars and brought them here, you know. Like there is something to be said about the dedication that it takes to keep doing this, and to like even get into it in this lifestyle right now. Like it's so easy to just go buy a bike that works from Harley Davidson and go ride wherever you want, you know. But it's like the hardest thing to get some piece of shit that doesn't work, make it work with your own hard-earned money, time, or whatever, in whatever capacity that you can, or like funding shops that can do it for you, or whatever the case, you know. There's something to be said about that, and it's like very special to see this stay alive, man. Like it's crazy. It's insane. Like that's another thing about riding them, is like to be on a 60 whatever, or a 70 or an 80 or a 90, like even the 90s bikes are old now, you know. But to like get on something that old and be like, this is a piece of history and I'm riding it modern day to wherever, and it like gets to live on in my hands for this like period of time. And whether that goes to another person and they get to be like the caregiver of this machine or whatever, you know, like it's so special to be able to be a part of that. And that's like what is really important to me about like just the whole community as a whole. That's beautiful, man. And it might not have to do with like riding necessarily, but like, you know, I think it does. I think it does for sure. That's amazing. You said that well. Thank you. Yeah. But you know, like to continue on, like I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you, man. You know, I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but like to see people that want to document like what is happening in this scene, and in whatever capacity, whether it's somebody that's just getting started in their garage, or somebody that has a shop and has been doing it for 40 years, or whatever the thing is, like there isn't enough about this stuff out there, and it's cool to see people like you like wanting to highlight it. Thanks, man. That means a lot. Putting it out into the world for the public to see, and like for other people, other generations to get stoked about it. Because like if like we weren't doing what we were doing, nobody would see this stuff outside of like, if you're in the scene and you get to see it, whatever, or Instagram or whatever, you know, like this shit's hard, man. Yeah, man. I think it's important. Super important. My goal is, I hope that people see this that aren't like really, like I want people that see it that are you know, in the like world of motorcycles and stuff like that, and like are devoted to it. But I also want people to see it that like maybe don't even, like maybe this sparks an interest in them to like get involved, you know? Totally. Because that would be amazing. At the end of the day, like this is a craft, this is art, and like whether people agree with that or not, you know, like this is a way that people can like showcase their art in a very feasible manner. Like obviously paintings and stuff are really cool, or like sculptures or whatever. Like this is a sculpture and a painting all in one, you know. Like,
and you get to ride it.
and you get to ride it. You know, you get to take,
and you can experience.
You get to take your art to Yosemite or wherever, and like. Even when I was just riding it through the city, like there were people that were taking photos of me on the bike, and it's like, holy crap, that's so cool that like it can be this universal thing, you know?
Well, when you talk about design and stuff, like, I don't know, I feel like after like the 70s are kind of cool, but like getting to the 80s and up, kind of the way motorcycles and like cars and stuff are like traditionally designed, like changed a lot, you know? Like the 60s were like very beautiful. Like every car looked like a piece of art already. And the colors were so vibrant. And now you kind of go out there and all you see is like black and white cars, and
they all look the same.
You know, they all look the same. And and I feel like in a way we kind of been robbed of like that expression. And so it's cool to see like you kind of like,
well, people took
a lot of people like you doing it.
Yeah, people took pride in their vehicles. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just watched American Graffiti.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I've never seen it actually.
You should watch it. It's in Modesto.
It takes place in Modesto?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Arizona.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was born in SoCal, so I like to say Southern California.
Oh, you left when you were younger?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
But like, it's just like this, like people in that movie, let's just say like back in those days, would drive in circles just to like showcase their car, you know? That's so cool to me, you know? Like that's not around anymore. Like there are events that happen in San Francisco and stuff, like lowrider events where like people go park on the street, and like whatever shows that there are, like it's just this congregation of like people, like-minded people that get to show off their stuff, man. Like that's so cool to me, you know? And like you get to take pride in this craft and your art piece that you can like physically drive around and show people, be like, look what I did.
Well, that's what we gotta do. We gotta keep it alive. Yeah, you know,
that is. Yeah, maybe this guy will get a bike someday.
Yeah, dude, I can see him with a little helmet on and everything.
maybe that Harley Hummer will be yours one day.
There you go, dude. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for doing this,
dude. I'm always here.
Yeah,
thank you for being here.
Hell yeah, dude. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
dude. So how can we find you? Just on YouTube? Like, can you just drop the channel name?
Yeah, so the channel is 947works. Instagram 947works.
Boom.
Website 947works.com. And I have products or t-shirts that I'm printing in-house.
That's how we can support you and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
And
that's
also
perfect.
like I'm selling parts and stuff, like or brand new parts. I have a used parts page on Instagram, 947works parts, you know.
Okay,
whatever.
Great. That's perfect.
Well, yeah.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again.
Of course, man.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude.